done, so you can tell them it's on me.
Yeah, get your hair done. Oh,
Hey, anybody out there? This is Rod. Can you hear me? Mic check.
Yes, we can hear you.
Outstanding. Thank you.
got you loud and clear, baby. All right. Ken, you got it?
Let me look again.
All right, I'm gonna get in there. Hey, what's going on, family? Man, it's such an honor to see you guys. Man, it's always a beauty to talk to you. It's always a beauty to share with you. And it's just a grace and mercy thing with me, y'all. Y'all know how we do, man. It's nothing but love on this side of town. So welcome to the law enforcement and community unity right now, man. We're gonna have a great conversation. We got just a platform that's filled with great officers. You're gonna hear a good testimony here in a minute that we're gonna break in. I'm actually gonna open up with that bad boy, man, because we want to always lift people. We want to make sure that everyone understands we have issues in the world, but we can always come back and talk about them. And that's built off conversation. I like to base a lot of my things that I do off of relationships in football. Well, if we're going down the field and we got to get that touchdown zone, man, I got to communicate with the cat next to me. And without that communication, we don't know what the man is going to do. So without communication in life, we just sit thus. And we never understand how each other feels about it. We never understand how each other think about it. We never get the full grip of how the one that looks opposite of us or the one that's beside us, how they really feel. So we want to bring some good unity between the police officers and the community. We've had a lot of mishaps, according, through the years, the last few years, we've had some crazy stuff that has happened. And everybody, it's amazing to me how we get in the uproar when it happens. It's about like a march. You do a march right then, and then what's on the other side of the equal sign? What happens after the march? We get on the uproar when we see police officers in the media do something outrageous and crazy. We gun ho for it, but what's after that? What's after that? And then even in that, do we know the full story? So we want to bring light to a lot of situations that has a lot of heavy darkness to it. And we also want to examine and maybe change our mindset, the way we think about each other from the community and law enforcement, get some understanding. That's all we're trying to do, baby, get some understanding. So it's great to see you guys. All this panel, man, this is a beautiful panel, man. I tell you, we got some beautiful faces, beautiful hairdos and cuts. I'm trying to tell you, we get it in up in here. So I'm loving you guys, man. It's always a beauty. And family, Facebook fam, wherever we're at, Instagram, and all them good social media channels. It's always good to see you two, family. So I'm gonna bring my panel in first, and then I'm gonna let Chief Caps come in, and he will explain it. And my brother Detective Corey, I'm gonna bring them in just a second. But we have Miss Zeltina O'Neill. If you want to say hey and introduce yourself real quick.
Hi, good evening. I'm Zeltina O'Neill. I live in Knightdale, North Carolina. I am co-founder, along with my cousin Anita Johnson, of One Body Movement, and we push unity as well as social justice, and we do it, and it's all Bible based. So it's nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Cool. Next, we're gonna bring in Mandy Harris. How you doing?
I am good. I'm glad to be here tonight. My name is Mandy. I am a Reiki practitioner and chakra coach. I've lived in Clayton for about 12 years now. I am a mom of 2 boys, and I am an advocate for unity in our community. So I'm excited to be here and to help promote any way I can to help bring our community together.
Cool. I got my man, I always call him Coach Ken. It's Ken Benton online.
Hey, Ken Benton here. I'm the coaching aspect of One Blood with Fred. We put on youth camps and got some things up our sleeve we're getting ready to throw out there for too long. I also currently live in Knightdale as well, but go back and forth to the Corinth Holder community. That's where I'm from. That's my family down there. So glad to be here as well. Glad to be with the officers and also the panel members.
And my last but not least, man, my man Alex Dumas. What's going on?
What's going on, Fred and other panelists, officers? Great to be here with you and those of you who are viewing. I am a co-founder of Abundance Daily Coaching. Me and my wife are life coaches and business coaches, and I'm also the co-chair of the Racial Equality Coalition, and that's a community, that's a movement that started last year in light of some of the issues that were happening, obviously in the wake of George Floyd's passing and other events with people of color. So we're just doing that to do what you're doing, Fred, to have these conversations, to have some dialogue, and also come up with solutions that we all can work together and thrive together. So,
Amen, amen.
Yeah.
And my buddy, we're gonna start with the Office of Law Enforcement now. My homeboy, man, who's been rocking with me for a long time, y'all. I mean, I appreciate this brother, man. He's been standing by me out of Johnson County. The only one out of Johnson County has rocked with me for a while. So my man Corey, Detective Corey, what's going on, man?
Can you hear me?
I got you now.
Good. I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm good, brother. And let them know who you are.
My name is Corey Scarborough. I'm a detective with Johnson County Sheriff's Office. I've been in law enforcement a little over a decade. State, federal, narcotics, SWAT team, undercover. I'm the Eastern Regional Manager for the Street State Program, which is a teen driving program. I'm also on the board of the Boys and Girls Club in Johnson County. I'm also a part of the Second Chance Program for the juveniles here in Johnson County, which is a preparing to soar. I'm glad to be here and keep giving back to the community and build this gap.
Amen, amen. I appreciate you, brother, for real. Appreciate all the panel. I'm gonna bring Chief Katz, man. You wanna handle your crew?
Hey, Fred, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Hey, thanks again for inviting us out. Really appreciate it. I'm going to let my folks introduce themselves. But as for me, I'm Lawrence Capps. I do have the pleasure of serving as the police chief for the town of Knightdale, pushing into my 22nd year as a law enforcement officer. And I got to tell you that this role has been a real eye opener over the last several years. Learned a lot about myself, learned a lot about other people, learned a lot about our community. Couldn't do it without the other folks that you see on the screen and a host of other people that contribute to our mission and to the values of our organization. But thanks so much for having us on this evening again, and looking forward to more conversations pushing ahead. And I'll flip over to Deputy Chief Soto.
Hey, good evening, everybody. How are you?
Good. Man, I you got your camera off this time. You scared I'm gonna talk to you about the light?
The light is on. It's working. It's working this time. That's awesome. I'm Deputy Chief Soto here with the Knightdale Police Department. I've been serving since 2002, and I just came back to Knightdale on November 30th of this year after serving approximately a decade here. I'm excited to be part of this collaborative conversation. And ready to let's get it on. Let's talk.
Ginger.
Hello, Fred.
Hey, sis, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you again for inviting us here tonight to participate in this conversation, which I think is extremely valuable to our community and all of those around us. I am Ginger Keel. I'm a lieutenant here with the Knightdale Police Department. I lead a team of detectives, and I also manage our school resource officers, and I'm sort of the community outreach liaison for the department. So I participate in things like this a lot. I'm also a member, I do a lot of stuff with the Law Enforcement Torch Run for Special Olympics, and I participate in an organization that helps with law enforcement management training. So I kind of wear a lot of hats and have had my hands in a lot of different things, but community here is one of the things that is absolutely the most important to me. And I believe that open conversation and understanding is the key to us getting our police officers and our society back completely unified and together, which is my goal. And I've been doing this for about 25 years now. I'm getting a little tired, but we're going to plow on and keep going. So thank you, Fred. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here. Hey, Karen.
Hey everyone, my name's Carrie. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. I'm very excited for today's talk. I'm a detective with the Knightdale Police Department, and I've been in law enforcement for 4 years. So I'm still, a little bit young in this career, but I'm enjoying every minute of it, including, opportunities to do things like this. So again, thank you very much for having me.
Appreciate you. I see you, DJ.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I kind of mirror what everybody else has said so far. Really excited about being a part of this. I've been with the Knightdale Police Department. Well, let me introduce myself. Everybody calls me DJ. Stands for Donnell Jackson, but that's too formal for me. I've been in law enforcement for about 6 years. I am part of the traffic safety unit. Basically, that entails a lot of DWI investigations, traffic crash, and things like that. Anything involving motor vehicle law and so on. Prior to that, I was on the patrol division. Spent 2 years doing that, and then, like I said, I've been on traffic since. So that's kind of my forte. So, like I said, really excited to be here. Can't wait to get everything started.
Cool, man. I appreciate it. What's up, Rob?
Hey, Fred. Good to be here. Good to meet y'all, panel. My name is Rod Glahn. I'm a patrol officer here at Knightdale Police Department. Within that role for just shy of 4 years, I also serve as a field training officer on patrol. And I'm really looking forward to the talk tonight, guys.
Man, I appreciate you, man. Appreciate the whole panel, man. Y'all, hey, if you're out there in the world, give a hand to the panel and then give a hand to the officers, man. I tell you, that's beautiful, man. It's an awesome thing to do, man. I'm loving it. I appreciate everybody. I appreciate you really, because it's taking your time, and I take time seriously. Time is a very precious thing that we have. It's not something that you can pay for. It's just it's there. So we have to take that as much as we can get it and take advantage of it where we can. So I love you guys. I appreciate everything you're doing, and we're gonna jump into this bad boy. But I really, man, I tell you, I got a call from a coach today, my man, Coach Ken, and I just Caps. I think you're gonna really love this because it blessed me this morning. And really, what it does is it puts everything, the icing on the cake for exactly what we're doing and why. When he tells you this testimony that he witnessed shortly here, dealing with some of your employees, man. And I just think it's a beautiful story. I think it's something great. I think what happened, you will enjoy it, and I think it shows great leadership. I always say this with when I'm coaching and when I'm doing my coaching and stuff, man. I always, something popped up on my screen, y'all. I'll tell you, technical stuff is going on today. But anyway, I always tell leaders, man, a leader is only a leader when his followers can lead themselves. So, Caps, you're doing a wonderful job because you're about to hear a great story, man. I'll let you take it, Coach.
Basically, I was sharing with Fred. It was kind of a comical story this morning, but we'll leave some of that out. But basically, what happened this morning, what I was telling the story about was the other night. This was Wednesday night, the night of the snow, pouring down rain, and saw a kind of suspicious activity in a car outside of my home, and couldn't really figure out what was going on. Couldn't tell if it was a neighbor, couldn't tell if it was just some suspicious car. But to make a long story short, the car ended up moving and almost going over the curb of another neighbor's house. So we were like, something's not quite right here. So, of course, the officers came down, and first of all, it came by two guys. I can't remember their names right now. I can't remember any of the guys. It was kind of a blur there for a minute. But to make a long story short, the gentleman ended up being my neighbor. And unfortunately, he was either intoxicated or he was under the influence of something and was having a kind of a rough night there.
Yeah,
but to say the least, yeah, good night, bad night, whatever you want to call it. But the car, they told him to put it in park, and he was too under the influence to do so. So it started rolling back to one of your police cars. But thank the Lord, one of the gentlemen hopped in and stopped it. But the comical / good part of it, though, was I went outside and I was like, oh, gosh, this is my neighbor. And I told the guys, I said, listen, I know this guy. I said, he lives right here. It's all good. But basically what happened was, and I've got my wife looking over my neck there. But anyway, just make sure I have no strange stuff going on, I guess. But anyway, make a long story short, the gentleman didn't even know I was there. I mean, he did not remember nothing the next day. And I told Fred, I kind of went into one blood mode. I was like, you know, Bo, you actually did this, this, and this. Well, I was just sitting in my driveway. You know, I think it might have been racial profiling. I was like, no, it wasn't. You actually, they saved your life in a way, because you could have been heading into somebody's house. God knows what could have ended up happening. It was a very good part of it. But I told him, I said, you had good cops last night, buddy. You had good policemen last night, because these guys tried to take care of you. They went in the house. They got his significant other. She came out and spoke to him, and he was home before the end of the night. But it was just kind of funny, though, that he was like, well, I think it was racial profiling. I was like, no, it wasn't racial profiling. You had some good cops out there. You had some good policemen out there that took care of you. And I said, you really need to think about this before you do anything else. But that's the basis of the story. And I was just very proud to know that I live in a town that it seemed like the policemen cared, and it seemed like they were trying to take care of the situation instead of letting it escalate to something else.
Not there,
I applaud you.
I really appreciate you sharing that, Ken. You know, sometimes when we show up at calls, obviously we'd like for them to go a different way. Folks would like for them to go a different way. You can't always necessarily control the consequences, but you can certainly control yourself, how you treat people, and lead the situation better than you found it in most circumstances. And obviously, I get to see the report and what's in black and white for in terms of those kinds of incidents, but I don't always get to hear the backstory or the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey used to say. So I really appreciate you giving me some of that context, and you know, kudos to the officers. As I said, I certainly have the privilege of leading the organization, but it truly is the rest of the men and women who make the great things happen for our organization and in our community. So thank you for that.
Starts at home, baby. Starts at home. All right, family. Hey, man, that was a great testimony, Ken. I appreciate you sharing that, man. And kudos to the law enforcement, man. I'm telling you, that's a positive mark in the community, and you don't never know who you're running up on or talking to. So we're gonna dive right on in.
Fred, and Fred, can I say just one more thing about that? I wanted to really applaud you guys with the Knightdale Police Department, because on the other hand, I know you guys as police officers saw what happened in the Gold Rock area. And unfortunately, that was a brother of a close friend of mine. And he didn't handle the situation as good as he had, and the police officers did not as well. And that was one reason I ran outside, because I was like, oh God, I hope this doesn't happen here, especially right in front of your house. But again, I want to applaud you guys. And it was just a kind of a breath of fresh air, if you say.
Amen. What do you say, Ginger?
I was just thanking him. I appreciate it. We as a police leader, unfortunately, we get to hear a lot about the things that police officers do wrong, and it is just really refreshing to hear this kind of coach letting us know about some of the things our officers are doing right. So I appreciate it very much.
Amen. Amen. All right, we're going to dive into these questions, man, because I want to get this conversation going. I'm feeling a good one right now. So we're going to start with the ladies first, man, as we should and as we always have. Miss Mandy, I have one of your questions. If you want to read, whichever one you want to read first, it's totally up to you. And we can kind of direct which officer would like to, just tell me the number you're going to read, and I can kind of direct it.
Tell you the number off of mine?
Mm-hmm.
Number 1. I think I have it the same as yours.
You can read.
Okay. Kind of piggybacking on what we've just been talking about, what training do police officers have in de-escalation of encounters that become agitated and possibly violent once police involvement is started? What is the training, and how are you prepared to successfully de-escalate rather than further agitate the situation? What does that look like? And possibly what could be improved in the training to help those situations de-escalate rather than to become further agitated.
I would like to answer that.
Oh, go right ahead, Carrie, jump on in there.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Ms. Harris, for that question. So yeah, what kind of training do we, have in de-escalation of what you were describing? I'm not going to speak for every law enforcement officer in the United States. I'm just going to speak from my experience because that's what I've experienced. In the police academy, I've had several instances of training on de-escalation. A little bit of it was, on the board, PowerPoint, teaching, but the vast majority of it was situationally based training, which is obviously, in my opinion, obviously more important in that situation. The police academy that I went to has a great facility where you can create this whole mock room and everything with, different people coming in. So you're seeing a stranger's face. So it's kind of more real. And, they really play those scenarios on to really teach you how to de-escalate those situations. In terms of preparing yourself to de-escalate, situations successfully, that's really achieved through, knowing how to read people, knowing how to read human behavior, how to verbally communicate, having very good communication skills, having good nonverbal communication skills, knowing how to read nonverbal communication skills of other people. And definitely patience. A lot of patience comes into play with this, and self-control. But there's another important aspect involving, de-escalation of encounters is an officer really needs to know that, when they need to really engage and take action in a certain situation before they have to resort to a high level of force. Sometimes, that initial de-escalation won't quite work and you need to kind of find a middle ground before it escalates into something a lot bigger. That's just my take on it. So if you have any additional questions, feel free to ask, or if anyone else wants to jump in.
I'd like to add just a little bit to Carrie's point about training. Carrie made a lot of reference to her basic law enforcement training, and I just would like to point out that we also continue de-escalation training throughout our careers. And we here at the Knightdale Police Department in particular, we have incorporated it into all the various different types of training that we do. For instance, when we're doing firearms training, when we are doing taser training, when we're doing, just basic defense tactics training, we work de-escalation scenarios into all of that. So in other words, police officers at firearms training or any of those that I just named, every situation is not going to be a situation where they should deploy the taser or deploy the firearm. That would be sort of training you that that's always the answer, right? So we build scenarios in there so that there are going to be scenarios in there where you need to be able to recognize when you need to use patience and distance and time to de-escalate that situation. So it's not only in official de-escalation classes, we've recognized the extreme importance of it and we're incorporating it into everything. That's sort of, it makes it more cultural, and it makes it just more effective to me to incorporate it into all kinds of training.
Hey, Ginger, Corey, both of y'all probably can answer this. I'm wondering, Ginger, with that kind of training, I know Knightdale does it, and thank God you do. My question is that supposed to be a standard across the board?
I can't tell you that de-escalation training across the board is I know that there is definitely a push from police leadership organizations to increase our training in that area. Yes. Is there any direct mandate? I'm not really sure that there is a direct mandate, but every organization that I know anything about right now is definitely focusing hard on de-escalation training. I mean, I can tell you that just from my experience.
Okay.
And if I could jump in on that too, Fred,
Yeah.
As far as formal training in de-escalation, I know at Knightdale Police Department, we've been big on getting every officer into crisis intervention training. Now that's centered a little more around folks with in crisis, maybe having a mental health crisis, but still it definitely dives deep into de-escalation. which is a skill that you can use with just about anybody. It's going to be the same skills.
Absolutely. And that again, in that crisis intervention training, they expose officers to all kinds of different mental health illnesses, developmental disabilities that people may have, other challenges that they may be facing. And they engage you in practical scenarios with people from all of those different backgrounds and situations. So again, it's not just throwing stuff up on a PowerPoint, saying this nice buzzword of de-escalation. It's making that a real thing for us and something that we really practice and work on, because it's like getting up and doing public speaking. You got to work on it. You got to work it into all of your methods. You got to have it in your toolbox, and you got to have it strong.
Definitely, and it's something that every officer is continually growing in every day. Every call you go to, you're learning new, building that EQ, that emotional intelligence, learning how to interact with people, and learning how to de-escalate situations. A lot of times, somebody calls 911, it's because they don't know how to handle things, and things have escalated to a borderline dangerous level, and they expect us to come in there and essentially de-escalate the situation. So it's definitely something I push in my field training program, and making sure these young officers know how that de-escalation is the best route.
And that those guys, everybody who said something so far has taken a word right out of my head. De-escalation is also one of those things where it doesn't just start with law enforcement. It starts with your experience growing up. I mean, if you're where I come from, at least, de-escalation was something that you had to learn. So, I mean, you didn't have to run into the gang members or the drug dealers and so on. You had to be able to de-escalate that situation successfully. And then as you grow up, you learn, your social skills and things like that. As I believe Detective Campagna said, you learn these things through social skills. You learn how to talk to people. You take all of your life skills and you apply it to law enforcement. So there is a start to the training, but the training, realistically, it starts with your life. It starts with everything that you've done, and it simply continues through everything that you do. And touching on what Officer Glahn just mentioned, the best way to continue that de-escalation training is out in the field. Is when you come out and you talk to people, and that one time you say something wrong to somebody and you're like, I should probably not say that way ever again. Maybe I should change things up. That's one of the better ways to further those de-escalation tools. It's not as simple as a one shoe fits all type of deal. You have to go back to knowing what somebody's just like I said, Detective Campagna said, you have to learn somebody's verbal skills, their nonverbal skills, and just kind of work the situation that way. And sometimes de-escalation doesn't always work. And that's the unfortunate side of it. Sometimes we do have to take action. Sometimes it is as simple as saying, well, hold on, I know you're mad, but you're not mad at me. Let's work this out and go about it that way.
That's good explanation. Does anybody want to tag on that panel? Anybody?
I'd like to tag in on that, Fred. Now, when you say that you all go through this, can you give like some highlights of what exactly you do during that? I mean, like, I know you can't go into very in-depth information about it, but can you explain a little bit more of what you actually do? I mean, do you have like does it go from, like a situation like a DWI? Does it go all the way down to like if you are downtown trying to, protect somebody at Main Street? I mean, does it go through the whole spectrum? And also too, does it go through, even, like there's some cultures that, like I personally have a love for the deaf culture. Do y'all hear anything with the deaf and hard of hearing, deaf blind culture? Is there any specialized training, I guess you say, with that, along with the the decompressing, or what I'm talking about?
I can tell you real quick, Mr. Benton, that the deaf culture, that is definitely something that is addressed during CIT. I mean, we're not taught sign language, obviously, during a 40-hour training, but we are given a lot of resources as to how to recognize somebody that's trying to communicate with you who's deaf, and some resources as to who we can quickly call to try to get some help in dealing with that. And it's just a lot of different things that we're taught in that class in particular, which is a great one, about how to help manage situations like that. You know, for instance, it's important to know that certain people with those disabilities have a very weak core and a weak trunk, and you know, you wouldn't know that unless you went to that training. And they try to give us some experiences that help us understand what is going on in the mind of someone suffering a schizophrenic episode. So it's just a lot of stuff like that. And yes, de-escalation applies to every situation that it can, until it can't anymore. I don't know if I answered your question completely, but I caught the end of it, and that was what I was trying to get.
Yeah, 10-4. I was just kind of wondering if you hit all the different cultures, and if, you know, because there's some people that, you know, don't like to be touched. There's some people that, you know, that are intimidated by a man. There's some people that are intimidated by a woman with power. You know, it's just the different. I just wonder if y'all hit all of it, or if it was just a broad spectrum.
Yeah, no, there's no one size fits all. There's no one application of de-escalation technique that's going to work for everybody. You have to be exposed to a lot of different cultures, exposed to a lot of different types of people and their different issues, and be able to pick up on those things and adjust, and be willing to make those adjustments in your communication. Time and distance and patience is so important in those situations. Because, you know, if you're just going in like a bull in a china shop, you're not going to take time to pay attention to these cues that they may be giving you as to how to help them. And that applies to every one of those situations.
10-4. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate it. All right, we're going to go to the next question. If everybody's good, we're going to let Ms. Zeltina come in with hers.
Good evening. First, I just want to thank each officer that's on tonight. Just your presence here is obvious that you're about unifying the community and building a better relationship with the community. So I just want to thank you each for being on. Thank you for your service. Thank you, Chief Capps. We've met, and I can just say, you're great, and I can tell that your department also is great, and it starts at the head. So thank you all for being on and for it, because sometimes you never know, a platform like this, you might get a hostile group. So you really don't know what you're coming into. So I just want to say this is about love tonight and unity. So I just want to thank you all for coming on. But thank you. My question kind of piggybacks on Coach Ken's story. It's about profiling. Now, like the gentleman that Ken was talking about, he said, I was racially profiled. And, you know, we hear that term a lot, whether it's used correctly, loosely, or what have you. We do hear that term a lot. And we do know that there's some type of profiling that goes on in your day-to-day work lives. So can someone please explain to us, what is profiling, true profiling, and how does that differ from racial profiling?
So profiling, profiling is something that everybody, and I mean everybody, does, whether it be based on your implicit, explicit bias or what you've learned here and there. I mean, you look at, profiling would be something like looking at a Jaguar and saying that whoever owns this car probably makes a lot of money. That would be an example of profiling. Racial profiling, on the other hand, is looking at somebody because of their skin color and taking action based on simply their skin color, which that's wrong. So when we use profiling, it's more along the lines of you know, going back to that example that I said there. I guess that's probably a terrible example from this aspect. Let's say, for instance, I am driving down the street on the daily patrol, and I see someone that is it's summertime, they're wearing a hoodie, they're looking left and right, it's the middle of the night, you know, that profile right there, hey, something's going on here. That would be profiling, as opposed to simply rolling down the street and saying, oh, there's a Hispanic gentleman, or there's a Black gentleman, or there's a, you know, Asian or whoever is standing here on the side of the road. I need to get out with this person because perhaps they don't fit the nature of the neighborhood, which that would be racial profiling. Does that make sense? Does that kind of answer that?
It does. It does.
Yes, I would love to piggyback off of that, what DJ said. Yeah, like just plain profiling, like he said, that's a great example, or like criminal profiling. That's like a legitimate means of detecting patterns in activity, looking at the facts of a situation, all based on your training, your life experience, and your knowledge. And again, that goes back to that's like a legitimate, assumption of everything that is, out in play. Whereas racial profiling is not a legitimate means and not an okay means to use. That would be using race for the sole purpose of policing and, going out your policing duties. So in my opinion, yeah, that's the difference between the two of them as well.
Can I ask one more question related to that? How do you ensure or reduce the risk of an officer's prejudgments that they may have, prejudices, if you may? How do you ensure that it sticks with profiling and doesn't go down that slippery slope of racial profiling?
Well,
Is that some training, or like how do we reduce that risk?
I would probably, my understanding is that our supervisors watch our body cam videos, and we have to activate our dash cam, body cam if we're equipped with them. Everybody here is equipped with body cam, so that shouldn't be an issue. But our supervisors actually review our videos and watch the interactions that we have with the community. So that's one way. A second way would be how we do our incident reporting or any type of call for service reporting, to where we have to literally document the reasons why we did what we did. So that would be a second way. A third way would simply be getting out and getting to know each other as officers. I mean, Knightdale is a small community, or it's a small community, but it's also a small department. So we all generally know each other. We know mannerisms. We know, if somebody says something that's kind of like, that's a little weird, that's one of those things that, I don't know if I got cut off there. My phone started ringing. I apologize. But that's kind of one of those things where, somebody's throwing up some red flags. Perhaps we should address this and address it immediately.
And as an administrator, we're always constantly reevaluating our practices, and we prohibit the practice of bias policing or any other type of discriminatory practices by our officers. We have a great group of men and women here that are pure professionals, and we incorporate best practices, training, and policies and procedures to ensure that we prohibit the use of biased police practices by our members. And we're constantly training and revisiting those policies and reiterating those things to ensure that those types of things don't happen.
I'll add to that a little bit to Ms. O'Neill. I think that, I know that here at the Knightdale Police Department, we have really, really fed a culture that teaches the law enforcement officer that comes here that's been serving since breakfast, that they have the power, the ability, the say to hold another officer accountable, to hold a leader accountable. That truly is a part of our culture. Our police officers in field training program, their voices are heard, and they are empowered in that way from day one. And I think that empowering them in that way makes them far more likely to hold their brother or sister accountable for something that's not right, and to try to get to the bottom of that and address that. And that's a cultural thing, and it's not an easy thing to build, but we have worked really hard here at that. And I mean, I really, truly, I feel like our young officers here, Carrie Campagna, for one, she's on my team. She's been here, she's been a cop for 4 years. I've been a cop for 25. I can guarantee you with my paycheck of this month and next month, that if tomorrow I started going down a road that didn't smell right to her, Carrie's gonna call me on that, and that's the culture that we've built here. So that's, doesn't say a lot for a rule or whatever, but that culture is important. And that is something that we have built in place here.
Ms. O'Neill, in terms of checks and balances, after every traffic stop, an officer is required to complete a racial profiling report, which is going to talk pretty much everything about that traffic stop, to include the gender, race, and ethnicity of the driver of that vehicle. And all that information is logged back. So if there's any questions about a particular officer and whether he has been racial profiling or whatever, they'd be able to go back and check and say, oh, hey, well, Rod stopped only Asian females for the last 3 months. What's going on with that? That's an extra little check and balance that we have in place.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, guys. And I just want to say, I think it's great. It's really great that you all are holding each other accountable, because I think, too, that's where you're going to catch a lot of it as well. Even though you have the checks and balances, like Officer Rod stated, I think, too, and, officers are comfortable enough to say, like Officer DJ said, this is a red flag. Let me, address this. That's where a lot of the issues are going to be solved. So thank you all for answering that question for me.
Absolutely.
Hey, Fred.
Go ahead.
I would like to get Corey's point of view on that with Johnston County.
We have the same systems that everybody else have in place, and a lot of things is caught in the field training level. Like Lieutenant said, I was a field training officer, but I became a detective for about 6 years, and I've weeded out, I've corrected, was able to correct some, and some you just had to let go. We have the same system that Knightdale does. It's pretty much fluent throughout.
10-4, thank you.
Awesome in the sauce right there. Awesome in the sauce. All right, I'm gonna bring in my man Alex. Man, I know you got a hot one. Let's bring it in and see what they got to talk about.
Yeah. Actually, the one question that I want to ask that kind of tied in to this theme of de-escalating and understanding the community is, they're kind of looking at what are the measures being taking place to be proactive, in the sense of, how do we get to know the community? How do, obviously with COVID right now, that could present a bit of a challenge, but as far as knowing the people that we're serving, in the sense of, if I know this young man here is around a certain group of people, if you know them from a young age and grow up with them and have that rapport with them, I feel like it would be less likely incidents of police mistreatment, or even mistreatment from the community to an officer will be definitely be lower. So I don't know, is there anything that the police departments do in that case of reaching out to the community, getting to know their neighbor, and because you are here to protect and serve, so service is also that big component of it. And I'm curious about how that works.
I guess I'll bite off a piece of that one. And I'm sure you'll probably want to hear from Corey as well, since he's from Johnston County. But just a couple of things that come to mind when you're talking about youth. We have done a great deal of expansion during the past 3 or 4 years in our community outreach program. We've got a lot of different things going on here. When you talk about catching people, and it's important to get to know our youth. They are our future. And so one of the things that we have in place here in Knightdale is we have historically had DARE officers in the elementary school that go in and teach the DARE program to 5th graders. That is something that doesn't exist all over the state. That program is probably about 50-50 as to where it's taught at, but we have engaged in the DARE program here in Knightdale that gets police officers in those elementary schools. We also have a school resource officer posted at our high school, at Knightdale High School, and they are very, very involved and engaged in school activities. The one that we've got there right now is even trying to get involved in coaching at the high school. Rod Glahn, actually, Officer Glahn here picked up a pilot program last year and was trying to get off the ground some athletic programs where police officers get involved in after-school athletics with kids. I could just go on and on. We've really tried hard. Police at Play is another one. That's an organization that has, they actually reached out to us. I didn't know anything about it, but they reached out to us, and they were just before COVID shut down the schools, we were trying to get officers on a schedule to go out during recess and just engage with elementary school kids on the playground. And I mean, how fun is that? We've really picked up a lot of different things like that. We also have a program here called Camp Pride, where every summer, other than the summer with COVID, we have had about 30 to 40 youth between the ages of 9 and 12 come and spend a whole week with us during the summer. It's a summer camp put on by the Knightdale Police Department, run by the Knightdale Police Department. It's totally free to our community. Doesn't have to be a kid that lives in the town of Knightdale necessarily, just someone in this community. That has been a huge success for us. And we're very eager to get back to that. There's a number of things that we've been trying to do to stay involved with our youth, because we definitely recognize that it is important to establish those relationships early. And I'll give you, and it's prime example. We've got one of my detectives, Detective Pete Smith. He started off here as a school resource officer. And as a detective now, his years as a school resource officer are incredibly valued to our investigative unit. He knows these kids. And he solved crimes. And I'm not saying that the kids were necessarily the ones committing the crimes, but his communication with those members of that youth, they're the ones that are helping us solve crimes in many cases. So, we've really tried to be as engaged as we can in those programs. COVID has limited us a great deal, but we still did Shop with a Cop this year and tried to get involved with our youth in some areas like that. So it's something that we're having to work and be really innovative at right now with COVID, but we are very eager to be able to get back into our youth programs, because that's really vital. It really is.
Thanks so much. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Go ahead, Alex.
Oh, and, yeah, I was curious to hear Corey's take on that. I wasn't sure if you were speaking yet or not.
Yeah, to piggyback on, like, we have SROs. In the county, it's a little bit different with the county and the city, because we're responsible for a more broader area. So like our area is 800 square miles we're responsible for. And you got one deputy pretty much per 210 square miles. Yeah. So we lean on our community. Like, I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce group, but a lot of things that we see is the sheriff will put us on any board, anything with the community, and then we lean on our church leaders, because we'll speak at any event, we'll go do any, but we have to know about it. It's a little bit harder to get that information county-ass wise versus the city, because we have so much more to do territory-wise to cover. But we do have, we're part of the Second Chance program. We do Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, churches. We speak on domestic violence panels. A lot of our stuff will come in from church leaders and stuff that we have developed relationships with. When we're off, there's groups at the high schools, middle schools, to read a book. We do that every year with elementary schools. We pretty much attend everything with elementary school. We try to get in there heavy. And then a lot of us end up tagging along. Like, I had a kid that just graduated this year that I met him in second grade. I followed him all the way through. So we have deputies end up, adopting kids at elementary school. And you just follow them on through, and then they start telling their friends. The next thing you know, it just keeps growing and keeps growing. So a lot of stuff at Johnson County is like word of mouth. Once you get in good with one kid or one, they'll just talk about that particular one, and then you bring other deputies into, and then it just grows.
I wonder if there's a way to consolidate that information of these different churches, different events, different things that can go into the police database. I don't know how that would work. I don't even know if that's even a possibility, but that's, so as you were speaking, that came to my mind as a way as a one-stop shop for you to make it easy on these chiefs, as you have a large area to survey. So that might be a possibility. Who knows?
It's a great possibility, my man. You got One Blood sitting in the house right now with you.
He has definitely been a big help in it.
Hey, Alex, this is Chief Capps. I will say to that point, our outreach efforts are reaching a point where we are beginning to recognize a need to set aside designated individuals within the organization just to coordinate and manage and plan and program. Now, community outreach engagement is every officer's responsibility. It is a part of our policing philosophy, but there are logistical components to that. There are planning components to that. that sometimes require someone to step forward and to say, I volunteer to, be the person who dedicates my full time and attention to helping the organization plan and administer its outreach initiatives. And so, and I can only imagine the enormity of, what our friends over at the Johnson County Sheriff's Office are dealing with. And as Corey explains that, sometimes we lose sight of that in a municipal setting, where you've got a footprint of 10 square miles, maybe. And our friends out there have got a footprint several hundred square miles. And certainly within that several hundred square mile footprint, many, many, many more stakeholders who are interested in wanting to try to engage and, trying to be as intentional as they can to meet as many of those stakeholder requests as possible. I can only imagine that it can sometimes feel like a little bit of a daunting task, but even we are beginning to experience that, hey, this community engagement, community outreach has reached a point with us that it is going to become very necessary in the very near future to designate individuals to kind of take the lead for us on the planning and the administration and the calendaring and the scheduling and the logistics. Because if you want to do it right, then it involves a kind of effort that's going to take that sort of planning and time commitment. And I'll mention as well, we do a lot of other things to try to engage members of the community outside of just our youth. We've been doing a Citizens Police Academy now for about the last 10 years. As we mentioned, COVID has really impacted our ability to meet and to do things the way that we want to. But the other thing that I mentioned, interacting with youth up until last year, I coached in our Parks and Rec League basketball. Now, I don't know how much they learned from me about the game of basketball, but it was fun. We had a great time. And, it was just an opportunity for them, to see me and my family in a little bit of a different way, in a different light. And, even now, bumping into, those young men in the community and still referring to, me as Coach Caps. And so I kind of have to swallow that one a little bit, because like I said, I don't know how much they actually learned about me, or learned from me in terms of playing the game, but it was great interaction. And then we try to foster that idea of community involvement and the community policing aspect at the very onset of our new officers training with an exercise called a neighborhood portfolio project that involves our officers going out, and they are assigned an area, a neighborhood, a community within the town of Knightdale. And they're working with the folks who live there to try to identify any sort of issues, quality of life problems, maybe even criminal activity. And then they're putting together, this plan and this proposal, working hand in hand with the folks that live in that community to try to address it, presenting, their findings and recommendations to the command staff and to the residents of that community. It's been a great way to kind of build those relationships on the front end. And, when a new officer hits the front door from day one, help them realize through that project that this is something that we're committed to and that it's something that we're serious about. So hopefully all of those things collectively give you a pretty good idea of how, we're trying to be more intentional about furthering that Peelian principle that says the police are the public and the public are the police. There's no difference between the two entities. One group just says, hey, you know what? We're going to devote our full time and attention to the things that we all care about in a free and prosperous society.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate that. And one idea that just came to my mind is, I don't know how feasible this is maybe pen pals with the police. And I don't even know if that would even work, like for the youth to write letters to the officers, and whether it's a department or even individual officers that respond back, but that could be a fun thing as well. So those are my 2 cents.
I'm writing that down right now, sir. That's a good one.
I did the same. Yeah, that's a good idea. I wrote that one down too.
All right, then my work is done. Unless somebody else asks a question.
Awesome. That's what it's about, man. I hope you out there listening, family. I hope you're taking heed. Ken, you seen anything on Facebook before I go into the next one? Because this is
we're not having any questions. We're just basically having a lot of good comments so far.
You got some amens going on. We got an amen corner over there.
Yeah, we're trying.
I would like to read one comment. I think the law enforcement should hear this. Deha says, I think this panel event is a great example of how law enforcers and community can build and repair relationships. So again, thank you all for having this. And thank you, Fred, for putting it together.
Oh, thank all of you for coming and joining. Unity, baby. All right, Ms. Harris, we're back to you.
Back to me. All right. I'm gonna ask, what role, if any, in your opinion, is the media playing in amplifying tensions between police and the citizens they serve? What role could media be used to help bring police and the community together? Like Fred mentioned at the beginning, when something happens, like with George Floyd, there's media coverage, everybody's in an uproar, everybody's marching, everybody's upset, and then, week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks down the road, everything's quiet and it seems like the movement has stopped. And, it's kind of, to me, feels like, the media tells us, all right, let's get upset about this. We're upset for a minute, but what can we do beyond that? And how can we use the media, and what role do you think the media plays in amplifying that, and or to help kind of smooth things out? What can we do to use the media to help bring more of the unity, so that we're not only hearing about the situations where things have gone wrong, but how can we use the media to highlight situations where we are bringing the community and law enforcement together and uniting and building stronger communities?
Hey, Mandy, this is Chief Caps. I'll kind of take this question. So the first thing that I think is important to realize, and maybe sometimes we forget this, and what I'm getting ready to say is not an indictment against the media. It is just a reality that exists with the media. The media is a for-profit entity. Media is in the business of making money. And like all individuals who understand the capitalist system, they know exactly what is going to cause you to click on a story, to view a story, to watch a video. They know exactly the buzzwords to use to attract your attention to that blurb or to that headline. And whether you like it or whether you don't, the reality is there is something in our human nature that is drawn to chaos. And we have a tendency to fall victim to that clickbait. If you were scrolling through a list of stories and you saw a headline that said, man loved wife today, father spent time with children in great setting. Okay, yeah, you're going to keep scrolling until you find that series of words that triggers in you an emotional response. And when that happens, they got you. They've got you. And that process is going to be, to the point that you made, Mandy, it's going to be perpetuated by them for as long of a duration as possible that allows them to be able to continue to generate profit off of that story. And, as you mentioned, that may be a 3 or 4 week period of time. It may be a 3 or 4 day period of time. But if they can generate more views, if they can generate more clicks, if they can generate more visits, then they are going to be recognized as, that media platform that is getting in front of viewers. Therefore, they're going to be able to sell ad space, and they're going to be able to make money. So I think the first thing you start with is an understanding that the media is a for-profit industry, and they understand the business of making money, and they recognize again, whether you like it or whether you don't like it, agree or disagree, they understand what gets your attention. And regrettably, what gets our attention most of the time is those negative headlines. The other thing about the media is that they have the capacity, they have the resources, they have the people, they have the infrastructure to be able to push a story to an audience that sometimes reaches far beyond our ability to use our local resources to communicate with stakeholders. And inevitably, what you see happening is a story that may be pushed to a national audience about policing and community interaction, or policing police engagement with communities of color. Sometimes, if we aren't careful, we can adopt that story as being what is true in our local communities, when in reality that is not necessarily the case. It should always challenge us to ask tough questions and engage in things like this to ensure that there is a good relationship between the police and the community. But they have the power to be able to push a message to a far-reaching audience. They have the ability to push images and a story and a narrative at a speed sometimes that is hard to keep pace with. And so, how do you flip the script on that? How do you now use the media to your advantage? Because I don't know that it's necessarily that the media doesn't like law enforcement. I don't think that at all. I just think that it's a fact that the media knows how to make money, and the media is going to use those tools that drive their profit, and the tools that drive profit are chaos, and clickbait and fears and emotions. And usually, if that is the starting point, then the ending point's not going to be very good. So we flip the script by engaging in conversation with our local and our regional media outlets on the front end, to try to say, hey, look, here's who we are. Here are your point of contacts within the organization for stories, for questions. Even when we have something go on in our organization that may not necessarily generate the same kind of clicks or views as one of these disturbing headlines, we'll still share stories. We'll still push out press releases. We'll still just, kind of open up and say, hey, look, this is something that we're doing. They may pick up on it or they may not. If they do pick up on it, it may not exactly get the prime time spot, but, at least we're pushing that message out there. And I think the smartest organizations are the ones that are realizing that they have some tools and some resources at their disposal to craft their own narrative and to communicate their own message. And so whether it's social media platforms, whether it's some of these local neighborhood apps, whether it is working with some of your local TV and radio stations, like for us, East Wake TV, Wake Weekly, to try to, you won't push that message nationally maybe, but you can make sure that you're using the media locally and on a regional level to communicate with your local stakeholders. And I think the more of that we can do, the better off, we are. Again, understanding that the media is a for-profit industry, I think is the best place to start. And my folks can tell you, I've actually even got an interesting PowerPoint and video saved on our share drive that talks about how the media takes the 40-minute interview about an incident and turns it into the 2.5-minute clip in a completely polar opposite direction. And again, what was the purpose behind that? The purpose behind that was to generate the clicks, generate the views, capture that headline, not to say anything that wasn't true, but to frame it contextually in such a way that shifted the original intent and the original meaning quite significantly. But fortunately, as I said, social media, good, bad, regardless of what you think of it, it's a powerful tool that we do have at our disposal. We should be taking advantage of it, just as we should be working with our local and regional media partners to establish good relationships, just like we try to establish good relationships with our community, so that we hopefully do have some support there when the time comes.
That was good, Caps. I appreciate it.
Thank
Go ahead,
you.
man. Mhm. That was good. That's media for profit.
Thank you. That was very informative. A lot of good points. And I would just like to extend beyond that, kind of challenge, you know, if anybody has ideas or anything they could add within this meeting and beyond, to kind of challenge the officers and those of us in the panel, anybody watching on Facebook Live, to kind of start coming up with ways like, what can we do as a community? What kind of, you know, events or programs, or what can we do to start getting the media involved in showing the community coming together in a way that will have an impact, and in a way that will, you know, generate a story or a movement or an experience that can be shared, that will, you know, maybe grab people in that same respect, not by chaos, but by you know, coming together and showing, hey, look at this community, look at Johnston County, look at Knightdale, look at how they're coming together and uniting, look at the officers, how they're coming with the community, look what this community is doing to build, kind of challenge, you know, if anybody has any ideas, or to challenge us to think beyond our conversation today on ways that we can start to take some of that back for ourselves and start to showcase that, like, hey, look, these things may be happening. Some of the things that we see in the media are happening, but let's show how we can change that, and how a community can come together and highlight, you know, stuff on the opposite end of the spectrum, and show how, you know, we can take what is being shown and turn it into something that's better and bigger and stronger for our community.
I'll say this, Mandy, and I don't, please don't think this is I don't mean to insensitively compare the wonderful things that you're talking about to noodles, but the best thing to me is to say this: you throw enough noodles at the wall and something's going to stick. Okay, so we do what we do. We, like Chief Caps, we send them the media releases, we send them press releases, rather, we send them information all the time. Our public information officer here with the town, Jonas Silver, we send him stuff all the time to send out to the media. You just keep sending them that stuff. Keep, you know, when you're involved with some good activity going on in the community to bring unity, to bring people together, you know, advertise it in whatever ways that you can. Get to know who your local media contacts are and reach out to them. You give them enough, they're going to have to advertise something, you know, so just keep doing it. Don't give up. Just don't give up. That's just my best piece of advice.
I would like to add something as well. I love what Chief Cap said in regards to social media. We can push the good. You know, the officers are doing such great things. We were just hearing about being coaches, being resource officers. What was it? The play program, where you go and play with them on the playground. So when we see these things going on in our communities, seeing the officers doing great things, de-escalating, we can push that narrative by posting it on our social media pages. How many followers or friends do we have? Hundreds. You know, we share so much. So why not share the officers in our communities doing great things and uniting with us? So we don't always need WRAL, whatever. You know, we can be the media ourselves. So that's another thing, Mandy, for, you know, talking about things that we can do. That's something simple we can do on an everyday basis. When we see things that's good, post it and share it and like it. So I just wanted to add that.
That's exactly right. And I appreciate hearing that from you so much, because just like the community is the eyes and the ears to help us solve problems, you're also our advocate and our ambassador by sharing these things, and an ambassador for your community as a whole by sharing those messages. And like you said, sharing. I mean, how many friends do you have on Facebook, Miss O'Neill? Probably 1,000, I'm sure. And those 1,000 people would receive that message if you just click send. And so, yes, I appreciate that very much. That's a great point.
I agree. Thank you very much. And I think a big part of it is, you know, as a community, we've got to start supporting and uplifting each other and showing that and being, you know, the change that we want to see. And like you said, in the social media, sharing, you know, any of the experiences that we have to share, you know, every little bit, and, you know, one by one, it'll build into something. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Told y'all we had awesome in the sauce tonight, man. Y'all better pay attention to what's going on in this room. This is love right here. We getting it in. We're getting close to time. So I'm gonna let Coach Ken ask a question, and then we will crunch it down and give closing remarks. But I want to hear what question he has, so we can keep it hot, man. Keep the community involved.
Okay, this is very important to my heart as a Knightdale resident, and also out to Corey as a Johnston County guy, which I'm over in Johnston County a lot. And I guess you got to be careful with this answer. What is the best restaurants that y'all like to go to in the Knightdale area and the Johnston County area? I get no comments on that one.
Listen. I'm my picture. I was a little thinner in this picture here. I got some good weight around me, and I got a little bit of extra girth, and I can just tell you that I don't discriminate when it comes to good food. So I have sampled many of the Knightdale restaurants, and I think they are all equally wonderful. How about that?
Oh, okay. Great answer. Great political answer there. Don't you agree, Fred? And now, Corey, chime in now. Is Johnson County barbecue better than Wake County?
When I'm working, I actually don't eat out. So either.
Oh, okay. Good answer. Yeah. Good answer again.
It was just something when I was on the road. I just don't like eating in uniform, so I go home or eat in the office.
Appreciate all of y'all.
That was slick, Corey. I like that.
Hey, Ginger, I got some EG Caps, man. Something that would be good. You know, we have, I think, 3 organizations up here tonight that's outside of the law enforcement. If you guys will be willing to share with us personally what you want the social media to know, or I can give you access to One Blood's page, and you're more than welcome to share the greatness of what you guys are doing, your things that you're doing. I can't even remember the right word, but share the good news that you get, and then the programs. That's the word I'm looking for. The programs that you have, if you would like to share them to us, and we can put them out, or like I said, I give you access to One Blood, and you can share it straight to the page. I'll let Ken handle that part of it, but we'd be more than glad to put out more, because I don't know exactly everything that you do. I can't keep an eye on you guys, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but you can't keep an eye on me on my social media either. But if you have access to it, or if we have something that we can share together, a drive, a file, or whatever, and you can say, hey, Fred, shoot this out today or this week, this is what happened, you know, the good news, the good parts. And man, I'd be more than happy to blast it out. And Corey, you know, why we do the same way. And you guys can send me anything, or if that's possible. I don't know, I don't know the politics side of it, but I think that would be a good, something good to do.
Right. Hey, and I appreciate you offering that. And Fred and Zeltina, I've got both of your emails and your contact information. So with your permission, what I will do is when we push something out, through our sunshine list, I'll include the 2 of you on it, and where you think that there's an opportunity to repost, reshare, redistribute, please feel free. I've got a couple of things that when I get back to the office the first of the week, I'll send to you that kind of capture a nice summary of some of the things that we do on a recurring basis. And something that we talked about a lot recently in our police department that I'd really like for more of our community to know about is our internal emphasis on what we lovingly refer to as the 5 rules. And I'm gonna leave it at that, a little bit of a cliffhanger, and then I'll send you some information on that. And I think what you're going to see is just some very simple but profound rules that are kind of the pay to play things that we expect from all of our folks. And when you see them, I want you to think about them. They're simple, but if we all adhere to those 5 rules, especially us as law enforcement professionals, if we adhere to all of those 5 simple rules, wouldn't everything else take care of itself? Wouldn't everything else work out the way that it's supposed to work out? So I'm going to tease that, and then I'm going to leave it right there and send it to you so you can take a look at it and you can give me a feedback later.
Cool, man. I appreciate that, man. Greatly.
Absolutely. I look forward to receiving it.
And Alex and man, I think y'all are with the same coalition, right? So we will get it with y'all. We'll get it to y'all too.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, we're both with the REC, Racial Equality Coalition. So yeah, definitely blast it out. We'll share it out.
Cool, cool. Well, look, fam, look.
Yes, sir.
Who was saying something? Somebody said.
Well, I was just going to take take one last opportunity to shamelessly plug something. We have a blood drive going on here. Us and the Knightdale Fire Department are hosting a blood drive from the Blood Connection this coming Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and it's on our Facebook page. And I welcome you all to come and give blood if you choose to do so to help our community. So that's my one last little plug I'll give for the day. And you get a $10 gift card, Visa gift card, and also a $10 donation to the Law Enforcement Torch Run for Special Olympics will be made on your behalf.
That's good. This Wednesday?
Yes, sir. This Wednesday from 10 to 2.
I'm sorry, where is it again?
It is going to be here at our police department this coming Wednesday, February 3rd from 10 to 2. And if you just go to our Facebook page, there's a link up there where you can register and everything. Thank you. I appreciate y'all. And really, sincerely, we all of us, we really appreciate these opportunities. This kind of interaction means more to us than you know. I truly believe that the key to this unity that we're all seeking, it's really all about understanding. We've all got to come together and attempt to understand each other better. And if we have to have an open mind to do that, an open mind and an open heart. But things like this is how we get there, folks. And so I sincerely appreciate from the bottom of my heart, each of you being here tonight and taking time to listen to us and to give us questions, give us challenging questions, because that's what we're here for, you know, and you've done that. And I appreciate that very much because that's the way that we get to this unity that we seek, truly.
Awesome, awesome. I'm gonna let everybody, I'm gonna start with the law enforcement. If you guys want to give some closing remarks, and then we'll go to the panel and we will say goodnight. Chief, you want to start? Or Carrie, whoever unmuted their mic first, go get them.
I'll start. Yeah. Lieutenant Keel really summed it up right there. How I, think of that situation as well. I just really appreciate the opportunity for the first forum. What was that, 2 months ago, maybe? I appreciate the invite to this one as well. And I'm hoping I can invite to the third, fourth, fifth, whatever, how many you want to do in the future. I really appreciate this. I love talking to people, having an open conversation, like Lieutenant Keel was saying. I love that part. Having an open mind and an open heart, I think, is really the key to having a good discussion about unity and really trying to understand each other. So again, Mr. Foreman, thank you very much for the invite.
Cool.
And thank you to the participants as well for coming on and having these great questions and engaging with us.
Say your last name, Carrie, for everybody to understand.
Campagna.
Amen. I hope y'all got that one. I'll ask you again next go round.
She recently got married though, so she'll be a Burke soon. So.
Oh, Burke. Oh, I got you. I got Burke. Yeah.
She'll make it a little easier for you.
Yeah, I grew up with a Burke. We call you CB. We good to go now. Cool. Who's Orlando Soto? We hadn't heard too much, brother.
Hey, Fred. How are you? The light's still on.
Come on, man. You don't want to see your beauty today, man. Hey, man, we got the same hairstyle, so we might as well rock it out.
That's right. You got good taste.
That's it, baby.
I just want to say thank you. I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. I look forward to doing this again and again, just like Campagna said. I got that song in my head by probably saying my age by Johnny Kemp, Just Got Paid. So looking forward to go home and see my family. And, it was a pleasure and an honor to meet everybody, and I look forward to doing it again. Thank you so much.
Cool. What we got, Rob?
Hey, Fred, it was great to be here. Always a pleasure. I'm looking forward to the next one. It was great to meet you, panel. Looking forward to many future conversations.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you greatly. DJ?
Well, just like to follow up just what everybody else has said, thank you for being here, or thank you for allowing me to be here. Thank you for everybody that's here, everybody that's watching at home. I definitely enjoy these types of things. These are types of things that I do, outside of these types of forums, just on the road with people, whether it be even on traffic stops, whether I'm at the gas station getting a drink or whatever the case might be. But these are the types of things that I definitely enjoy. I enjoy being a part of this. I enjoy the feedback that we've gotten from some of the comments that have been read from Facebook and so on. I really, this speaks to my soul here. This speaks to my soul for all the things that the reasons why I got into law enforcement. Unfortunately, we have to have these types of conversations due to the times, but it's a good thing. And this is a good foundation, and we're at a good start. And I'm hoping that this train keeps on moving forward.
Oh, amen, man. That's beautiful. Corey.
I just want to thank everybody. Fred, this is awesome to see the first of 2021. This has been a long time coming. We've talked about this, and to actually see it where you got a citizen panel also with the great law enforcement group. This is the stuff we talked about that is needed, and I just appreciate everybody's time, and especially the citizens being open-minded, and we actually can have an open dialogue and actually grow from that. So I'm just really just overwhelmed today because this has been something that's been talked about, and finally get to see it.
Amen, man. Appreciate it. Chief and Jenny, y'all have anything else?
I'm going to echo what has already been said. Thank you very much. You can tell a lot about a person by who and how they spend their time. And so the fact that all of you were willing to give up some of your time to be a part of this evening, it says a lot about you. It says a lot about your commitment to this sense of community, to building relationships that are based on trust, based on mutual respect. Thank you so much to the citizen panelists for your questions, and for sharing your evening with us, to the men and women that I get the opportunity to serve with, to our good friend Corey over in Johnston County. I appreciate you. I love you. I am praying for you. Please stay safe. Enjoy your weekend. And I'm looking forward to the next one, Fred.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you greatly. Ginger, you good? Or you might be stepped out.
Oh no, yes, sir. I think I've said all that I need to say. I reiterate, I really appreciate everybody. So thank you.
All right, Miss O'Neill.
I really wasn't expecting to say anything else, but yes, this has been absolutely wonderful. It's been awesome. Again, I thank each officer that's on with us tonight. Thank you for just being great, for serving our communities, and you do it with a smile. It's very selfless job, sometimes thankless job, but believe me, we know that there are more good officers out there than bad. So we just want to commend you for a job well done, commend you for coming on this panel tonight, and just commend you for your service. And Fred, thank you again for putting this together. Like Detective Corey stated, this is a long time coming. And so, timing and seasons, this is the right season. So I thank God for it. I thank God for each of you. It was nice meeting everyone, and prayerfully this will not be the last time. And hopefully we can all meet in person one day.
Amen.
Ms. Harris, Mandy.
I just want to thank everybody for taking time, especially the officers, but the panel, everybody for taking time. I know everybody has a lot going on. You could be at home with your families. You could be doing a million other things right now. But you took time out of your day to be here, and I'm honored myself to be able to be a part of this. I think this is just one of many steps in the right direction. Having those conversations, having them from the heart, with love and respect and understanding, and being able to move forward and being able to make sure our community is growing stronger and I just want to thank everybody for being here, and for the people who are watching on Facebook, or anybody that's in any way being a part of it, and Fred for putting it together. I'm really grateful. So I just want to say thank you.
Oh, thank you, Alex.
Yeah, everyone, Fred, I want to thank you for masterminding this project and having a vision and follow through, and for all of us who have said a lot of interesting things tonight. I hope we continue to follow through on that and those intentions, those commitments. And I'm going to put my coaching hat on for 1 second, because everyone's saying very interesting things about giving up time and taking time. It's never that. We're all creating time for each other. We're all investing time, because as we get to see each other, we're seeing each other as humans, as people. I'm invested in my son's future, in that if he has an interaction with an officer, he has a conversation, not a bullet. And no officer wants that either. Nobody wants to come home and think about, oh my goodness, I may have just ruined somebody's life or torn his family apart. So it's an investment into each other, it's an investment into this great community that I'm really excited to be a part of. So thank you all. God bless. Stay blessed.
Oh, appreciate it, Coach.
Man, I had to follow Alex. I mean, geez, Alex about to make you cry there. Wow. No, all kidding aside, I appreciate all you guys. Appreciate the panel. Definitely appreciate the officers, because you're here in my town right now, and I mean, I just don't know what to say. I'm very impressed. I've experienced it again firsthand this past week, and I just can't say enough about how proud I am of the police force we have here in Knightdale. And anytime that I've ever had any issues, I've always felt like, sometimes you feel a little nervous to call the police, because, it's just how people grow up. I mean, I hate to say it, but I have never felt nervous about calling you guys non-emergency or emergency. And I just really appreciate that. And I hope that this is something that continues on for a lifetime. And again, I got to give props to my boy here, Fred, and thank you for having me on. And you guys, you can see my name down there. You can look me up on Facebook if you know any secret spots for restaurants wise. I'm being pretty serious about that. I mean, but again, thank you.
I got your lunch, baby. I got your lunch. Hey, man, I appreciate every one of you guys, man. You're so beautiful. The panelists, you guys are beautiful. You're gorgeous. I really, really appreciate it. The officers, man, to God be the glory. To law enforcement, you guys are just awesome. Corey, the train, Knightdale, you guys, the training. I didn't know you did so much, to be honest with you. So it's great for the public to understand and know what you guys do to go the extra mile. I mean, it's more to you than it meets the eye. So I'm impressed tonight. As usual, I always am. Me and Coach Caps talked the first time. I was impressed. So I really appreciate you taking the time. And it's an honor to have you on this type of platform in the first place. So I really, really appreciate it. There's one key word, man, I'm gonna leave y'all with that I heard the most out. And I do that when I listen to conversations like this right here, was accountability. Let me tell you something, man. It's so enriched in your soul to hold somebody else accountable for what they said they're gonna do. And that's what I heard out of these police officers tonight, is what they were saying. Look, I'm holding my partner accountable for what he signed up for. And I heard another word that intrigued me, was culture. Change the culture to accountability. That's how we can survive. That's how we can move forward. You change the culture to accountability. That means everybody hold each other accountable for their foolishness, and we can stop a whole lot of it, and we can move forward with an abundance of love and integrity for each other, instead of continually pushing out the hate and the destruction and showing a 2-minute clip out of a 40-minute video of something that's painful. Man, we can do a whole lot better than that if you choose to. If you choose to hold yourself accountable and the other ones that's beside you. So I do it without abundance of love. I love each and every one of you, especially the panelists, everybody that's out there on Facebook and wherever else you're on social media, man. It's great honor to talk to you, to always bring you greater and better ideas on how we can get along and understand each other. I just count it all joy. I really do. And I'll leave you with this, because I said to everybody and always, and it means so much to me And I say it to all my football players because it goes both ways. If each individual does the individual job, that is what makes the team. It took three. It took three to create this world. That's a team. It's three inside of you. Start with your team of you first. Hold yourself accountable for you first. And then you hold everybody else accountable for what they do to you. Y'all be blessed, be safe, man. You know I love you with the love of God. To God be the glory, everything that we've done. Be safe, be peace. We'll talk to you guys soon. I love you, Facebook. I love you, panel and law enforcement. You guys are awesome. Awesome, awesome. Don't do anything with Coach at any restaurant. God bless you. I love that. God be blessed, man. I love you.
Thank you.